Big Jones the Juggernaut. And that was not supposed to happen. Big Jones the Juggernaut, welcome back to Unleashed. And as you can tell right now, I'm not at home and I'm not at work. Big surprise, right? So, like I said, this is the trip that was not supposed to happen. So over the next couple episodes, I'm going to explain to you guys exactly why this trip was not supposed to happen. So it's quite an amazing story. But before we get to that, I just want to point out in the background, if you guys take a look out there, you can actually see Cuba, a little spit of land way back there in the distance that is actually Cuba. If you could believe that, that's amazing. I always wanted to go to Cuba. I'm actually half Cuban. I'm Cuban on my mother's side. I always wanted to visit it, and this is about as close as I think I may ever get to it. So I'm going to go ahead and just savor it and take it in. That's an absolutely amazing view, and I don't know how well you guys can see it on your end, but for me, it looks like it's actually close enough to reach out and touch. So that's pretty awesome. So just wanted to throw that out there. So I want to jump right into it. So here's the scenario. So it's around November of 2021, and my wife and I decided, you know what? We haven't been on vacation since our second child was born, and that was in 2015. So it's been a good, what is that, 7 years, 6 years? 6 years. It's been a good 6 years since we've been on vacation. We were supposed to go on vacation back in, of 2021. I want to say it was around mid-year, around July or August of 2021, and it ended up not happening because we were supposed to go. We didn't end up going. I forget why, but anyway, we were supposed to go to Barbados back then. We didn't end up going, so we're sitting in Fogo de Chão one day. We're looking at each other. We're like, listen, we really need to go on a vacation. We haven't gone on a vacation in a long time. You know, we've done little side trips here and there, Las Vegas and that kind of thing, but we haven't really been on a true vacation. So it's our 10th anniversary coming up next year. It's the end of 2021. 2022 will be our 10-year anniversary. So we said, listen, we can't just do some candy-ass Las Vegas trip for our anniversary. We need to do a real vacation for our anniversary. It's 10 years. It's a big milestone. There's no reason why we shouldn't. So that's what happened. So we ended up going out. Right there in the restaurant, I pull out my phone and said, baby, we're going on a cruise. My baby told me that she wanted to go on a Panama Canal cruise for the longest time. That was her dream cruise, to go through the Panama Canal on a cruise. So I said, hey, let's look at the cruises right here and let's find. So we ended up finding one next August. You know, our anniversary is in July. We found a cruise August 2022. Seemed like good timing, you know, right around the anniversary time. It didn't do the Panama Canal. It went to the Southern Caribbean. It was an 8-day cruise instead of a 7-day cruise. So it sounded like a good idea. So we went ahead and booked it right there in the restaurant. And slowly over the next year, we started chipping away at it. You know, they give you so long to pay it off completely. So that's what we did. We took our time and we ended up paying it off. And, you know, now it's, 2022. It's around, May or June. The cruise is paid off. And we're like, okay, so we need to get some things in place. We got kids. 2 of them are special needs. We have one who's a teenager. We need to figure out who's going to be, in charge of things, So we're getting things in place. We got a nanny. We got, I got my mom. I got my sister-in-law. All these people are signing up. Yeah. You guys definitely should go on this cruise. Yeah, I'll be happy to help. All that, blah, 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 blah. It's funny how people will sign up for things willy-nilly in the moment, and then down the road, they'll figure out reasons to not do it. So what ended up happening is the first reason why this cruise got pushed back, because it's actually now October. And no, we haven't been on a cruise ship for 2 months, which would be awesome, but we haven't been on here for 2 months. We've only been on here for 2 days, actually. And the reason we ended up not taking this cruise in August is because everybody bailed on us. Well, when it came to watching our kids, everybody bailed on us. My sister-in-law bailed on us, but that wasn't a big surprise because, I know we know she didn't want to do it in the first place. It was kind of a long shot to begin with. But then my mom, who lives 6 blocks from us, bailed on us too. Not only did she bail on us, she booked her own trip right in the middle of when our trip was going to be, and then picked a fight with us when when it came down time to do it, she picked a fight with us so she wouldn't have to do it. That is the most candy ass thing of all time, to pick a fight with someone when you don't want to do something. Like, why can't people just say, hey, you know what? I know I signed up for this. You know what would have been cool is if, you can't do it because you got other things that you want to do or you have other obligations, to say, hey, listen, give us enough time. Tell us ahead of time so we don't have to scramble and try to figure it out. Because she told us maybe a week ahead of the cruise, hey, listen, if she would have told us, hey, listen, I have another thing that I want to do. I'm sorry, I want to watch the kids, but I can't. That would have at least given us some time ahead to get ahead of it and figure something else out. No, she tells us with a week to go, and she doesn't even tell us outright. She picks a fight with us, talks about how my wife has given her attitude and all this stuff. You know how old black people can do it. They'd be like, oh, I don't like your tone of voice. And if you don't like somebody's tone of voice, that negates you from having to do anything, from having to watch someone's kids to having to pay back $1,000 loan. Anything you don't want to do is immediately negated if you don't like somebody's tone of voice. So that's what ended up happening. I told them, listen, I'm going to be unavailable that week. I apologize. I'm not going to be able to do this. And they accepted, and they booked us on a cruise in October instead of August, for no charge. In fact, not only was it no charge, but they actually ended up with some residual. They ended up giving us $300 in onboard credits. So I feel kind of bad about that, but I'll make it up to them by spending a bunch of money on their ship. So I feel like it's even. Anyway, so that was the first thing that happened. And the second thing that happened is, again, I haven't really touched on this a whole lot, but my middle son has autism, and it's really, really hard to find someone to watch him. It's hard to find caretakers, or we've been going through caretakers and nannies. We've been going through all these people to try to get him some child care to watch him for this week that we're going to be gone. It's hard enough to get a relative to watch him. I figured, okay, maybe the problem is if you want something done like this, you got to pay for it. So, we're going through all these people. Hell, we can't even get people to show up for a job interview to see if they want to watch the kid. That's crazy. This kind of stuff is just really, really nuts. And at some point, we just kind of throw our hands in the air and say, you know what? Maybe the universe doesn't want us to go on this cruise. 10 years together, I guess maybe we should be just prepared for anything, which we are. But we stayed in it. We stayed in the fight, and, we eventually found someone. And this is crazy because my youngest son, he's really skittish around people. So when we actually found someone to watch the kids, he was this older lady. I'm referring to her as a nanny. I'm sure there's a more politically correct thing to call her, but for all intents and purposes, she is our nanny. So for the past week, she's been coming over and watching the kids and, making sure they stay out of trouble, while my wife is at work and I'm doing whatever. It's been working out really well. I call her Mrs. Doubtfire because she's almost too good to be true. You guys remember that movie, Mrs. Doubtfire, from the 90s? They're looking for a nanny and they find, Robin Williams is dressing in drag, and it turns out, this woman is actually him, That's what I feel like. I feel like it's Mrs. Doubtfire. I feel like this lady is almost too perfect that she must be one of my ex-girlfriends in drag that's trying to get back with me. So she dressed up like a woman after she found out we needed a nanny. So I call her Mrs. Doubtfire because she's almost too good to be true. So anyway, Mrs. Doubtfire is watching the kids during the week, and my oldest is watching the kids on the weekends. I asked my mom if she would come and check on the boys on the weekends, but even that seemed to be a problem because she was like, well, I could check on them on the weekends, but, I'll be gone. I'm going out of town on this day. I was like, nah. I don't know, man. Ever since that little falling out back in August, my mom has not seen her grandkids. So be careful out there. If you have a tone with your mother-in-law, she'll completely disown you, apparently. So watch your tone around your mom. Anyway, so people keep throwing obstacles in our way, and so far we've overcome and overcome and overcome. And I'm telling you, the obstacles don't stop there. So we got the nanny in place. We got the new cruise booked. We got everything we need. We're like 85% packed. It's the day of. We flew out of San Diego Airport. We flew to JFK, connected there, and flew down to Miami for the cruise. So it's the day of, it's the day of. And of course, we're trying to get everything in place. We're trying to get everything packed. I wasn't working that day, so I had the whole day. I got up in a casual manner that morning. My wife had to work. I didn't have to work, so I was going to run around and do everything I had to do to get ready for this cruise, to get ready to fly out, because we're taking the red-eye flight out of San Diego, and we're basically going straight to the cruise terminal when the flight lands. So I'm just running around trying to get everything situated. This is my plan. I'm running around trying to get everything situated, trying to make sure we have everything we need for this trip. And guess what happens? One of the things I have to do for this trip is I have to take my middle son, Ty. I have to take him to the hospital. My son, unfortunately, broke his arm. Mom, if you're watching this, I know you probably don't know that he broke his arm because you haven't wanted to see the kids for a while now. But yeah, Ty broke his arm, and it's in a cast. So it's been about 2 weeks at this point since Ty broke his arm, so he's due for an eval, So Balboa Orthopedics calls me. They say, hey, listen, we want to get your son in for a checkup. I said, yeah, cool, totally. And I've been missing that phone call, and they finally called me the day before, and they say, hey, listen, can you come in tomorrow? I was like, yeah, perfect, because we're going out of town tomorrow, so this is just a checkup, so it should just be in and out. They do a few x-rays, they check the cast, they make sure it's healing the right way, and we're out. So I got an appointment for like 10:30, right? This appointment shouldn't take more than an hour. So I get in there. The first thing they say is, hey, we want to take some x-rays without the cast. So they want to cut the cast off. It's only been 2 weeks, mind you, so it's not completely healed. So they want to take off the cast, take some x-rays, and I'm thinking they're just going to, redo the cast. And, he has autism, and he's really, really not a fan of people touching him, even me. So I know it was going to be tough, but that's why Daddy's here, hold him down, distract him with his little show on the phone, do what I got to do. So they get the cast cut off, and he actually did really well. I give Ty some credit for this. I thought he was going to have a problem with somebody because that's a loud saw, and they have to cut it off. But he actually did really, really well with that. So they cut off the cast. They go do the x-rays. So far, so good. So we're sitting there. He's out of the cast. You could see his arm is still a little jacked up. So we're sitting there waiting for the doc, and the doc comes in, and she says, hey, where'd you guys get seen originally when he broke the arm? I said, oh, we got seen at Rady's. And she says, oh, and you could just see on her face the look of oh shit. When a doctor has the oh shit look on her face, that's not going to be a good day. So she has oh shit on her face, and I'm saying, what? Because I actually work at this hospital. I know her. And I'm like, what is it, doc? What the hell happened? And she's like, oh man, I didn't see the original images. If I had seen the original images, I would have known this is an unstable fracture and he should not have been out of the cast. I'm like, are you kidding me right now? And she's like, no, we're going to have to recast him. I'm like, well, I know you have to recast him. Well, yeah, but we're going to have to recast him under sedation because we're going to have to reset it. I'm like, and I'm looking at my watch. It's already 11 o'clock. I'm like, are you kidding me? You're going to have to sedate him, reset his cast, get x-ray. You're going to have to do all that. Are you kidding me? I'm looking at my watch. It's 11 o'clock, and I'm texting my wife, baby, they screwed up Ty's cast. We're probably not going to get out of here until like 3 or 4 o'clock. And I'm like, there it goes. Vacation over. That's it. I'm going to be here. I can't leave my kid with no cast. He's got a broken arm, He will re-break that arm in a second. That kid is so rough on everything, much less his own body. That kid will re-break that arm in a second and we'll have to go catch a flight from Aruba or Curacao or Dominican Republic or wherever we're going to end up. We're going to have to fly back anyway because he is going to re-break that arm if there's no cast on it. So I'm like, shit. I can't just leave my kid here with no cast, so I've got to go. I've got to stay as long as it takes for him to get fixed up. And long story short, it was such a long day, And, Ty, he's a sweetheart, but he can be difficult to deal with. His autism, he's very, very hyper. He doesn't like to sit still. He doesn't like to do what he doesn't like to do what you tell him to do. I'm just going to adjust this real quick. He doesn't like to do what you tell him to do. He does his own thing. It's just what he does. So we stay for as long as it takes for him to get situated. By the time we walk out of the hospital, it's like 5 o'clock, and I am so pissed off. I still have to get home. I still have to pack. My wife is out trying to find us a garment bag so we can take our stuff, and it's just, I'm like, of course this is how it ends, And I'm thinking to myself, like, yeah, it's 5 o'clock. I can get back home in time, but there's going to be some other problem. Anyway, long story short, my middle son was not happy, but we end up getting. I'm sorry, I just can't. This angle is being weird. Okay, sorry everybody. Had a little sound problem there. I had to regroup and rewire some stuff. I pretty much do my podcast on spit and gum and twine and everything, but in that time the sun came out full force, so I had to throw on a pair of sunglasses too. So sorry about the continuity problems, but I'm back. So anyway, what I was saying, let me get right back into it. So basically, it took us 5 hours to get out of the hospital when it should have taken only maybe one tops, but I get my kids cast together, and now it's 5 o'clock, and I'm like, shit. And then this flight leaves at 9, so we're already pushing it. I got to get home. I got to get everything together, make sure my kids are straightened out, make sure we got everything that they need. I mean, we did most of the stuff leading up to it, but, day of, you just want to make sure everything is good. So I get my kid home. He's still high off the anesthetic they gave him. He's still kind of loopy, and he hasn't eaten all day, poor kid. So, I make him some chicken nuggets real quick, some French fries, get him some food in them. And, we're just racing around trying to get everything together, So my wife and I are kind of looking at each other like, is this thing even going to happen? I mean, is this really going to happen? I mean, look at this. We're spread out all over hell. Is this even going to happen? Or we just kind of look at each other like, we got the plane tickets. We got most of our stuff packed. Let's just throw everything we can in a damn suitcase and let's make it happen, So I was scrambling around, just trying to make sure we have all the important stuff, Do we have, tickets? Do we have IDs? Do we have, all the important stuff that we know we're going to need, Whether or not I have my sexy shirt, that can, I could find another sexy shirt in the Caribbean. It's not a big deal. So, so we put everything together, we call an Uber, we get to the airport on time, and surprisingly, it's starting to go pretty smoothly. We get to San Diego, and now this is the part that I was really, really concerned about, because in addition to everything that's happened from now, my kids, childcare, my family, the Navy has also been busting my balls about taking time off. I mean, I got all of 3 months left in the Navy, and they're breaking my balls about taking 2 weeks off, and I'm not taking terminal leave, but that's a whole other story in itself. They finally gave me the time off. So now we're heading to the airport. But the thing that I'm really worried about is a little thing called Tropical Storm Ian that's been blasting the eastern seaboard, mostly in Florida.
Because right now, Tropical Storm Ian is strengthening in the Caribbean and is forecast to batter Florida as a major hurricane next week.
But it's pushing storms up north also. But that's the thing. We're flying from San Diego to JFK, connecting from JFK to Miami. So now I'm like, hopefully, our flights don't get canceled. That's the big issue now. But like I said, we get to the airport in San Diego, and surprisingly, everything starts going smoothly. We get to the airport on time. They check our bags. We get to the gate on time. We get through security with no problem. We get on the flight. It's a red-eye flight. We get to New York first thing in the morning, and it's thunderstorming in New York. And I'm like, shit. We only have about an hour and a half layover in New York before we got to catch our flight to Miami. Hopefully nothing goes wrong. And it doesn't. Actually, it doesn't. Nothing goes wrong. We get on our flight to Miami. We make it to Miami. Our bags are right there. They're right there in the carousel. We didn't even have to wait. The bags are right there. We grab our bags, to take 2 steps outside, get into a taxi. The taxi, who, by the way, the driver was a really bad taxi driver. I could see why taxis are going out of business now, why Uber is starting to put taxis out of business, because this taxi driver was terrible. The route from Miami Airport to the Miami Cruise Terminal is only about 8 or 9 miles, and this guy took a long time to get there. We had that taxi cab ended up being like $40, and I'm like, Jesus, I don't know. At this point, I don't care. Just as long as we get there on time, and we get there with all our stuff. So, like I said, it's starting to go pretty smoothly. So I'm thinking, damn, maybe this is the slide into home plate. So we get to the cruise terminal. They check our bags in. We go to check in, and in the cruise terminal, I go to pull out the cruise papers, and the cruise papers are soaking wet. like I said, Hurricane Ian was blasting the east, and when we got to New York, it was thunderstorming. By the time we got to Miami, it was really bright and sunny out, but in New York, it was rainy, so the cruise papers that were in my suitcase are soaked, and I mean like soaked. Like you can't even pull them apart. They're completely matted and soaking wet, and I'm like, crap, you know? So I just found out the hard way that if you leave your phone in the sun for too long, it can overheat and shut off on you. Fun little fact in case you didn't know. So let me finish this video real quick before anything else goes wrong. So we're at the cruise terminal. Papers are all matted, completely useless. So, but luckily I remembered which room we were in this time, because last time I didn't even remember that much. I remember which room we were in. The people at the cruise terminal were super, super nice, super helpful. And they tell them, hey, listen, we're in this room. Can you help us out? And they say, yeah, sure. You know, they had our names and everything. Actually went pretty smooth up until we get to the front and the lady asks us for a birth certificate. So I tell them, listen, we called ahead. They said we're military. We can just have our military ID and a driver's license, which we had. They said, no, you're going to need a birth certificate too. Like, well, that's not what we were told. So my wife turns to me and gives me the oh shit look. And if you ever, if you watch the video about me being afraid of my wife, then you'll know that the oh shit look is when world maps get redrawn. I don't need that. We're trying to go and have a good time. We don't want to get in any crap. So she gives me the oh shit look. She says, and the lady at Carnival, like I said, super helpful, super nice. Hey, do you guys have a picture of them on your phone or anything? And I said, yes, I do. Because when we did all that stuff to buy our house, I had to do all that virtually because I had COVID. So I had everything on my phone still. I said, hey, listen, take this. And they took it, and we pretty much went from there directly onto the ship. No holdups, no hangups, no nothing. So after all that, I mean, talk about an anniversary trip. I mean, we've been through a tropical storm, our family's turning on us, trying to get help, trying to get childcare, my kid's broken arm, the Navy trying to chop down my leave. I mean, you name it. If you can get through all that with the person you love, I mean, God bless you. I mean, it seems like every obstacle got thrown in our way, and we finally made it out on the other end, and that's why we're out here right now in the middle of the ocean in the Caribbean enjoying our 10th anniversary. And if you want to go cruising with the Juggernaut, like, share, and subscribe to BJBL Unleashed on YouTube. Follow me on Instagram while you're at it, and I will see you guys next time for more Unleashed.